Bat music.
He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who just rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Hello, and welcome once again to Bat Minute Returns, the podcast where we try to analyze whether or not there's a happy ending to Tim Burton's 1992 Batman Returns movie, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
And here, split down the middle, I am comprised of anxiety and depression. It is John Parker, your other host.
I was like, well, yeah, there's enough room in there for both. Come on, just share, guys.
They're forever at war with each other, which is hilarious.
But that's what your psychiatrist. I was like, oh, this is hilarious. It's like, I really need to go to a different therapist.
That's Dr. Katz.
Oh, Dr. Katz. Hey, it's Batman, Catwoman. Hey, we have fun on the podcast.
Great banter.
That the voice of people having pieced together, much like Catwoman's suit. Oh my god! I won't even try that one.
Connected.
That is Eric Jack Nash of the Watchmen minutes and the upcoming Almost Famous minutes.
Yeah, those two and the one other I mentioned yesterday. At the end of yesterday, Feels Like Weezer too. Check that out in the future.
And yeah, we're here to talk about minute 114 of Batman Returns. Oh, what a minute. This begins with Bruce still pleading with Selina, and it ends 1 minute later with Max Schreck. I think you said it last time, John. Max Schreck coming to realizations. This minute, he's really finally pieced together who this woman is.
It takes him a while, to be fair, doesn't it? Like, a couple of times, it should have been obvious at this point. In fact, the name Selina has been thrown around.
I think, I don't think we addressed it in the last minute, but when Bruce says Selina, it cuts the Max face of him and like, what? And you would hope that he's... Again, we've not seen Max's life outside the movie, so we don't know how many people he has in his day-to-day life. But if he couldn't piece together, like, the one woman he keeps seeing every day is, in fact, Catwoman.
Hey, Selina's such a popular name. I mean, come on. It could be anyone.
But yeah, there's a great minute, so let's jump on in here. We have, Bruce still cautiously approaching Selina. As this goes on, like, Keaton's really selling this as well. As is Michelle Pfeiffer, too. But the thing is, because he says the line, like, oh yeah, we're the same, split right down the center. Which is a terrific line, but in the age of meme culture, it's now forever kind of ruined for me, because I did see at one point someone made a meme, which was just like, if you're on a date, who pays? And then just put the picture of Batman going split beneath it. It's like, well, that's that line gone. I believe it might have been from the official Michael Keaton Society of Getting Nuts, which is a frequent gold mine over there. Really, but
everything I post in the listeners group that isn't the episode seems to just be from that page.
There are times where I get like the notifications on my phone. Like, I'll be going down, I'll see that Dave posted something, and then I'll see like I'll get the little one, and I'll be like, John Parker has posted that. It's like, I bet I know what this is.
Yeah, because it's all perfect. Everybody, check out that page. I like the way we're promoting something. We've never spoken to these people before, but go check it out. It's wonderful.
I think that did have a brief conversation with them a while back, where they were talking like, oh, maybe we should do something together sometime. But nothing has come of it as yet. Although I guess it's like, oh, we've got 2 movies to go without Michael Keaton in them. So maybe we should have been a bit more in the ball.
We'll do a special.
Involved with them. Yeah, totally. And yeah, that's the thing though. As amazing and wonderful and tense and atmospheric and tender as this moment is, it also has one of the most glaring continuity errors in all of cinema.
Right, yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. I've been dreading this moment.
This is the thing. Even when I was like a small child, I noticed this. I'm baffled as to why this is in the way that it is. I think even the first time I ever saw this movie, when I would have been about like 5 or 6, I picked up on the fact that, like, yes, Batman has makeup on around his eyes when he's got the cowl on to blend everything in, and then they cut to Selina's face, and it cuts back to him, and he's very, very blatantly not got the makeup on anymore.
Yeah, even worse than that, actually. The very start of this minute, he's got the makeup on.
Yeah, yeah.
And then seconds later, it's vanished.
I have to want, like, I guess there had to have been talks about it. Like, they had to have had a sit down and go, like, do we have him with the raccoon eyes? They felt, no, it will look too silly. I don't think it would look silly, though, because you would have just been like, yeah, he's got makeup on.
Yeah. That's
how
exactly what they did, though. They basically agreed, like, oh, no, it would look weird. So we're going to have to get rid of it for this shot. And it was a wrong call, I think, because I've seen, people wear, crazy makeup all the time, like bands and things. I've seen wrestlers remove their mask, and they've done the same thing. And it doesn't look, like, it looks a little bit odd, but not, like, stupid. It's supposed to look odd, because you've just took a mask off.
Yeah. It could also have been as well that, like, Tim Burton himself might have been conscious of, like, well, the first movie I worked on with Michael Keaton, he played a character who had big black rings around his eyes. It might seem as if we were doing a callback to that or something, so, like, maybe it would distract people. But they do this as well, like, and actually, weirdly enough, in The Dark Knight Rises too. But they do it a bit more deftly. They have a scene of Bruce taking off his mask, and the makeup that Christian Bale was also clearly wearing is vanished as well. But they have him in the distance while he whips off the helmet. So it's not got this very, like, well, he clearly looked one way. Like, this is so jarring, like, he might as well have been, like, wearing, like, a dainty hat or something when you cut back to him. It's so, like, what the hell happened? And it's an unfortunate thing. It's like, there's no way around it. Like, either he's got to have the thing or he's not going to have the thing. And it's just, like, you just have to hope that the scene is powerful enough that everyone will roll with that. And thankfully, normally when you're watching it as an entire film, it is. Like, you'll notice it, but be like, whatever, who cares?
And I did roll with it at an age a good bit older than what you said you were. I'm a bit older than you guys, or at least I mean, gosh, I figured out how old I was for Batman '89. I mean, early teens essentially for this one.
Oh.
And you just went with it. It didn't annoy you.
At least that very first viewing in the theater. I don't know when it was for sure that, someone else pointed out, and therefore the next time I watched it, I'm sure I looked for it and said, oh gosh, that is stupid.
Well, this one stands out, though, more than, like, we had one earlier in the movie about the gravestone wobbling, which even when I was looking at the scene, I was like, I still can't see it. Like, it's like, how did anyone ever spot that? That's crazy.
It's insane, yeah.
But it's such a subtle wobble. But this thing is like, oh no, yeah, it's quite, like, up there and personal in Michael Keaton's face. But I will say as well, like, and this must have been intentional on Danny Elfman's part, because Batman does this dramatic thing of, like, ripping the mask off, and initially I was like, yeah, he's gone for a very destructive manner of taking off his mask. Like, he could just. Does Batman have to do this every time? Does he always have to rip off the rubber? Or, like, like, you could say, we noticed in the Batcave when he was suiting up earlier, it seems as if, like, the chest plate, like the little symbol, kind of pops in. So maybe he could have popped that out and then took the thing off. Yeah. But I took it to be maybe it's more like, to make it simpler, basically, than them having the whole rigmarole of him taking off the mask. Or it could have been like that. This is an indication cued with the music of Bruce's willingness to kind of destroy the Batman side of his own personality, because he's ripping the mask off. He's not just taking it off, he's ripping it off his head. And at the same time, it's playing Selina's theme, but specifically the theme that played when she was destroying the Selina Kyle side of her apartment, or of her personality, by destroying her apartment. and it's kind of got a vibe of like, yeah, that was when she was completely, taking apart one aspect of her identity to become something else. And by the fact that they're playing a very tender version of it while Bruce is ripping off the Batman mask, it could be an indication that he is willing to destroy the Batman side of his personality in order for them to work as a couple and for them to heal together and stuff. So I'm hoping that's what Danny Elfman was intending there, or it could have been like, Catwoman's in the scene, have Catwoman's theme there as well.
Now here's a question: production-wise, in the movie, is well, it's kind of plays into both, but production-wise first, let's tackle that. Is that was this mask and cowl really that easy for him to tear, or could it have been pre-cut into maybe a little bit on the inside? I would think, given like a perforation-ish kind of thing.
It's another one of those. I actually had a look, and there wasn't a lot of info. There's a surprising lack of information for certain things with this film. They like to keep it a secret. But there's no way you could just rip that, right? From everything we've heard about the construction of this thing. They must have cut into that. He's not Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. But if you look at it, you can't really see where there would have been a cut.
No.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It would have to be like a half perforation on the inside only. Yeah. Nothing, no marks on the outside, but into, a slight cutting away. To get it to happen where they want it to happen, I would assume that it would have been awful. Oh, if he tore it once and it left a big flap a really big flap at the back, there's already something of a.
Well, that's the thing. It looks too good, too perfect. It's framing his face exactly.
It's like one of those things you got on YouTube now of like, videos that are satisfying to look at, like someone putting their hand into a perfect thing of cement or something like that. Just looking at it, it's like, that must have been so satisfying to rip off that big rubber thing off your head. I can imagine Michael Keaton was having a great day. Like, I love this. Like, usually we have to be so careful with these damn cowls. I've always wanted to just rip it off my head, but now I finally get to. It's like, Michael, we only made 20 of them, so just get it in this take, okay?
So then the second thing is that it's really that easy in universe for the mask to be ripped that way, though.
Yeah, that seems very dangerous for concealing your identity. You kind of want a sturdier mask.
Yeah.
Plus, too, if you consider like in the comics and stuff. The cowl is always a weird portrayal of the cowl. Sometimes it seems like it's fabric, other times it seems like it's a helmet. It goes back and forth. But particularly in the modern version, it's always like strewn with electronics as well. There's always like things for his detective vision, as you get in the Arkham games. There's loads of little microphones. There's like little listening devices, as you were talking about the other day, Eric. Like they would have the cowls filled with stuff. So then they have the idea that like, Batman just rips off his mask. It's like, there'll be loads of wires and stuff underneath as well. Where this one is just like, he's protected that chest, but let's just hope that bullets can't penetrate hard rubber, I guess. Or not even all that hard a rubber. Like, easily terrible rubber. Let's hope that no one ever aims for the head. As we'll see with Max Schreck next week. They don't, apparently. But should also mention that this is also seemingly a reference to a comic panel. The idea of Bruce Wayne revealing his idea to Selina Kyle has been a thing that's been done in the comics over and over and over again. Yeah. Obviously, again, the current Tom King run, of course, him and Selina are like, we're going to get married at one point and all this stuff. And within the Hush plot line, there's a whole big to do about Batman finally letting down his guard and letting Catwoman in. But specifically in The Brave and the Bold 197 from April 1983, the story, the autobiography of Bruce Wayne, has a scene where he reveals his identity. Well, both Catwoman and Batman reveal their identities to each other, but the actual panel of it looks very, very similar. Like that's what they were trying to evoke, like a similar thing of Batman taking off the mask, and just from the angle it's done and all that stuff. It would seem as if it didn't take direct inspiration from it. It's like, oh, it's a hell of a coincidence anyway. But yeah. So just if anyone ever wants to go out and to look up that, you can do. It'll be available somewhere. I'm sure on eBay or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Well, on DC Universe streaming.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
We don't have it in the UK
catalog.
yet, do we, as
Oh,
of
that's
recording?
right. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually was very upset the other day because I bought a DC comic. I haven't bought. I'm as the listeners will know, I'm not a big comic book person, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to subscribe to Batman now, so we can talk about it on the show and things. So I got my DC comic. I got my Batman. It doesn't come with a digital copy of the comic anymore, which is annoying because I bought a Marvel one and they all do. The DC ones, they went.
Well, DC, it's kind of sporadic for DC. It's like their number one issues. They want you to. They're trying to get you to enjoy from the ground up. The digital reading of the comics. So if you buy the number one issue hard copy, on not necessarily every issue, every title, but at least some that I've bought recently.
Well, DC did have one advantage as well. I don't know if this is just a UK thing or maybe it's everywhere, but they seem to have some kind of a deal with Comixology, which is owned by Amazon,
right.
Because the two apps share a library. I noticed, like if you have DC stuff, it'll just auto import into Comixology. You don't have to do anything. But Marvel won't. You can't put them in there. You have to buy them on Comixology. Jesus Christ, it's confusing.
There's definitely a deal. Well, that's the troubling revelation I've come to, actually, in the past couple of weeks, is that there was definitely a deal with Amazon and DC, because over here we don't get DC streaming, but you could still get, like, on Amazon Prime, all the Batman animated stuff. Yeah, and like, a lot of, like, pretty much anything Batman animated was available on Amazon Prime. If you're a Prime member, you got it for free. Or $7.99 a month, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah, but you're getting it as part of your subscription.
Yeah. Very troubled to discover the other day, though. I was back home playing with my nephew. I was like, well, put on some Batman. Went on Amazon Prime. No, it's gone.
Oh.
It's no longer available through the Prime subscription. And I was like, you are really pushing me out here, Amazon Prime, because that was one of the main reasons that I was sticking with this. Was like, well, handy deliveries and whatnot. Also, all of Batman's there for like nothing.
And
now it's just like,
is that a good sign though? Is that a sign that they're ready to launch the DC streaming thing over here?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, that would be a bad sign for me, because that means that would be another subscription. I'd have to sign up
true.
Which is like, I was happy enough waiting for, a couple of months for you to drop Teen Titans on Netflix instead of being able to get it week to week in the DC.
You're saying the show Titans.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, Titans. Yeah. Sorry. But
you said Teen Titans.
Yeah. That threw me.
But
is he talking about something different?
But yeah, over here, like, we had to wait until the show was done in the US, and then they released it on Netflix. And people over here were just like, holy crap, there's a Teen Titans show. And I was like, yeah, it's been on for like a couple of months. But like, oh, we're only getting it now in the UK. And they'll be doing the same with Doom Patrol. Like, that's coming to Netflix over here probably in like July or August or something. But it's just like, yeah, you just hear in the US, you can watch it over there on DC streaming.
God damn it. Then again, there are ways around this. I won't say them on the air. I want a bit where Catwoman rips hers off and her eye makeup's disappeared as well. Just for no reason.
I also noticed as well that if you look at Mickey Keats afterwards, you see a little bit of gray around the old ears. So it's getting a little bit older there. Although, to be fair, Michael Keaton, old man nowadays, looks pretty well. So I'm not judging him. I've got gray hair in my beard too, dude. Don't worry about it, Mickey.
But neither of us have hair. On our head.
My beard hair.
Yeah. So, he's doing well. And, a lot of men look better with a bit of grey. I'm going to be going on about that non-stop when we get to Clooney. He looks a lot better now.
And, of course, current guest Eric Nash looks fantastic with the grey hair that I've seen in his profile picture.
It adds a distinguished quality to a gentleman.
But yeah, and throughout this entire thing, Max Shrek is just in the corner, just been like, what the hell is going on? Again, much like in the autobiography of Bruce Wayne, the Scarecrow was actually in the background of the scene. So again, there was it looks like it was very influential little bits of that comic and upon this scene. But again, why is Bruce doing this now when Max Shrek is right there? Like, I guess he'd be like, well, I could take him into prison, and who's going to believe Max Shrek? But then that, again, is very naive, because it's going to be like, I'm a big, rich, powerful guy. You've got no evidence that I did anything. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Bruce Wayne is Batman. And even if the police don't believe me, I'm going to get off of this. I will make it my personal business to go and take down Bruce Wayne now, because I know he's Batman.
I agree with you, but I will also defend it, because I think he's panicking almost. It's like, he needs to step in now, and he needs to stop this now in this moment. It's the last chance. She's going to kill him, and he can't just say, "Come back to my place and we'll talk it out." You know, it's not going to work.
Yeah, it could be. It's just the emotion of the situation and whatnot. I will note, weirdly enough, in the comic adaptation, they kind of do it in a way that's, I guess, technically better, and it makes more sense in that Batman doesn't take off the mask at this point. It's only after, like, you know, he says Selina and then she says Bruce. Huh? That Max Shrek is like, Bruce Wayne, and then he takes off the mask. So it's kind of like, well, yeah, I guess he already sussed it out, so it's okay to take off everything. But at the same time, for an emotional beat within the movie, it makes much more better sense for him to take it off here, because it's him bearing his soul, as it were, to Selina, but like, look, everything's off. This is no more costumes, no more masks. Everything. I've been super serial, completely genuine. The mask is off and everything as well, for whatever I need to do.
Exactly.
And as we know about this Batman, his thinking could be like, Max Shrek, I'm gonna kill him.
That's what I was thinking. He'll just put a gun to his head and shoot him into the water.
Okay, this is a kind of terrifying thought, because we know this Batman is a killer. In the back of his mind right now, he's like, I'm so gonna kill that guy. As soon as, like, oh, I'll send her out first, and I was like, by the way, Max, and he just goes over and like snaps his neck or something. And that's like, oh, that's the end of him.
Brutal. You know, so if someone says, you know, if it's Catwoman, Selina saying Bruce back to him, and if he really wanted to, or if it was more of a bad guy than Catwoman is, saying, I found out, I you know, with him still wearing the disguise, the mask, you know, I know you're Bruce Wayne, you know, or, you know, I don't know if he has any evidence, but why don't superheroes in those situations, you know, think, if they could just think just a little bit quick enough, and then they say the thing that would make sense if they weren't who they've been deduced to be. You know, I mean, if you are Niall, if you are Batman, and I say, hey, Niall, hey, I know you're Niall. You should, if you weren't really Niall, if you were someone else, and someone was saying you're Niall, wouldn't you just say, okay, yeah, I am, but then don't take off the mask, and then you put the onus on that other person. Unfortunately, that's not good. But
that's just thinking like it'd be like Bruce Wayne trying to do a quick cover here, like Bruce Wayne, just like, I'm not Bruce Wayne, I'm Max Shrek, the industrial billionaire of Gotham.
That would be amazing. Frame Max Shrek.
Of course, that'll be the thing. Like, after people, if anyone's seen that new Spider-Man trailer, flat out has friggin' Mary Jane saying to Peter Parker, "Well, you're Spider-Man." It's pretty obvious. So at this point, when that movie's released, that might turn out to be like a joke or something.
Yeah.
But it's one of the weirdest things to show in the friggin' trailer. Like, holy crap, Mary Jane just sussed it out.
And then she just goes, psych.
Particularly that version of MJ. I really, really love that Zendaya, Mary Jane. So like, I'm hoping she seems the type though would just be like, I'm just taking the piss, as if you could be Spider-Man kind of thing.
No chance.
She's just constantly belittling Peter Parker at every opportunity she has. But anyway, so what else happens in this? The one thing, because I did have, as I mentioned, Alfred relevant notes. Because Bruce, Selina sort of opens her soul as well. And it seems it's gone back into the much more softer tone Selena Kyle voice. So to me, it seems like, yeah, this is the Selena side of her personality has popped out. And even you can see it in as he removed the mask. There was a expression on her face of sort of like relief and vulnerability. Like she really seemed like, oh my god, like this is she was very happy to see that he's done this and stuff. She has a little smile and things like that. Everything's coming, the walls are coming tumbling down, as it were. And she talks about like, I would love to live with you in your castle forever, just like in a fairy tale. Yeah. Which is a very, much like Bruce Wayne's entire week has been like, little boy, idealized, like, yeah, totally everything about this is going to totally work out. And then she literally says, like, just like in a fairy tale, which is showing how, again, naive and how innocent they hope that all this could turn out to be. Terrific bit of acting for Michelle Pfeiffer again.
Oh god, as always.
But as I was, we mentioned before in the show that Selena Kyle had other love interests within the comics and stuff, but one that we didn't bring up, that I feel would be remiss to not bring up, was at one point Selena Kyle was connected to Alfred Pennyworth.
What?
As a love interest in the comics.
Were they the same age as they are in this?
Well, it's bizarre. It was in Batman 22, way back in the 40s. It was part of the the storyline, The Duped Domestics. And it's one of the greatest covers I've seen in a while, because the front cover of it is Alfred. He's still in like the Alfred clothes, but he's kind of doing like a belly dance in front of Batman and Robin. And Robin is giving like this big enthusiastic thumbs up. And it's like, what the hell is this book?
Hey, you do you, man. He's grooving.
But it's just the best. All right, yeah. Well, I wish we could have seen Michael Goff's version of this. But yeah, within the story of that, Alfred fell in love with another domestic called Belinda, a maid at Wayne Manor. Fell for so hard, he even wrote her like a love note where he compared her to a cat. Oh. Ironically enough. And with that is what tips off Batman and Robin to what Belinda's true identity actually is. But the story just goes stranger and stranger, where like Alfred at one point puts on the Batman outfit and pretends that he's Batman to impress Belinda and stuff. And then after they discover that, oh no, it was Catwoman the whole time, Alfred gives her a spanking and then hands her over to the police.
Oh no.
Which is... The Batcast and spanking Catwoman seems to be a frequent thing back in those early comics.
Yeah. They were rather sexist back then.
Yeah. That's like literally Catwoman's first issue was the quieter Papa Spank debacle we talked about with Brittany Simon. And I'm sure she probably would have been Brittany herself would be very interested in the bizarre role play spanking with Alfred debacle that we're talking about here as well. But tragically, although if you're looking in, like, we noted this entire movie that Alfred has a very disdainful attitude towards Selena.
That's why.
Yeah, it could be. He's like, sir, I hate to tell you, but I've already hit it and quit it. We have to get rid of this woman. It'd be too awkward around the manor if she was here. Like, Alfred, you have to get off those dating apps. You've been around the city like 50 times with every damn woman.
We need that in the new one, just Alfred on Tinder. That's what he does on his Friday nights.
But yeah, the again, terrific moment here where Selena said like, oh, forever just like a fairy tale, and then Bruce goes to put his hand on her face, and then the Catwoman side of her kicks instantly back in. Ooh. And she slashes his cheek and says, I just couldn't live with myself, so don't pretend that this is a happy ending. And there's the whole, that little moment of brevity and niceness we had. We're like, oh, yeah, maybe this will be a happy ending. It just crashes back down with, of course not. It was never going to be a happy ending.
It's interesting that she doesn't sort of snap out of because she falls for it for a little bit, and she doesn't snap out of it until he sort of approaches her physically, which I thought was interesting because, well, on one hand you could say it's because that's been the problem. Like she was physically attacked by Shrek, so maybe it's kind of like a trauma from that, and it made me think of. Well, it's going to be very dark and deep now, but like sexual abuse victims and things, they don't always like physical contact for obvious reasons. And it kind of, it seemed very similar to that. Like it really sets her off, him approaching her that way. If he'd maybe held back and carried on what he's doing, it might have helped. It might have worked. Not as in, oh, she'll suddenly be a good guy, but he might have been able to calm the situation down in the moment.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to gauge. Like, they could have done a really, I don't know if it would have been cheesy, but they could have had a moment maybe when Max Shrek, when he's going to throw out the window. Because I guess he did have his hand over her shoulder. So you could say maybe it's trying to evoke that. But had he touched her face, maybe then it would have been like, no, that is what sets her off. It's the reminder of that kind of thing. I guess we'll never know, like, what would have happened. Like, much like when they were about to exit the masquerade ball and the penguin interfered. Like, they could have sorted the problems outside then, but they didn't because the penguin interfered. And we'll never know now. Yeah, Bruce, if he hadn't have attempted to touch her, maybe she could have been calmed down. But I don't think she would have. Like, it's
no. If he intended to say arrest her or something, it might have bought him the time he needed to do that. But he's not trying to do that.
At this point, she's too far gone. Is the unfortunate truth of the situation. Like, it would take many, many years of therapy to bring Selena Kyle back from the edge she's currently on. But and then, of course, through this revelation, Max Shrek has finally pieced it together. Like, Selena Kyle. I know it's next minute, but every time I say the Selena Kyle, I always want to follow with "you're fired." It's such a great delivery of that. One of the things that we've not actually got into through all the talking about Catwoman we've never addressed the many other actresses who were supposed to be lined up to play the part.
Yeah.
It's the thing we've always sort of ducked and dived around. Like, we did mention obviously Annette Bening, because that was the one she was flat out cast as Catwoman.
Oh, yeah, we've mentioned her loads.
But other people who were in contention for Catwoman is Lorraine Bracco, obviously Karen from Goodfellas, who obviously played Dr. Melfi in The Sopranos many years later. Hard to gauge, that one, actually, because I've never seen her in anything that would be Catwoman, where she would have played a Catwoman-like character, but you never know. Maybe she would have been... I'm assuming maybe it's because Goodfellas had just come out. Maybe she was like hot stuff back then. I was like, yeah, she's a hot property. We've got to get her in this role. But
I don't know. It's one of those. Yeah, it could go either way for me.
Gina Davis, which is I could imagine Gina Davis doing this. I really love Gina Davis as an actress. I really hope she gets much more of a comeback. I know she did that Exorcist TV show that has been cancelled, but
I do like her, but I couldn't see her doing this Catwoman.
I think Gina Davis usually always sort of plays characters that are a little more naive, maybe. You always see a little more naive a character, but look at that, and then she's on Long Kiss Goodnight, so she knows she went on to have action credibility and whatnot, but of course Cutthroat Island, the classic.
Everyone's favorite.
But I could imagine Gina Davis could have pulled this off. I'm sure she would have pulled out the big guns when she needed to. Susan Sarandon, Thelma and Louise co-star to Gina Davis, was considered.
Again, I'd have to change the character from this Catwoman. I couldn't see her doing it. I could see her playing a version of Catwoman.
I could totally imagine. Susan Sarandon is too versatile an actress, though. Like, I think she could do anything, basically, if she wanted to. Well, let's get into some of the more contentious ones. Meryl Streep apparently was in consideration, and it notes on IMDb that Tim Burton felt she was too old for the part. Which is because I think like Michael Keaton was in like his 40s at this point, so like what age would Meryl Streep have been in '92? She probably would have been around the same age as Michael Keaton, to be honest with you.
I think though the way this Catwoman's portrayed again is not young like she's 18 or something, but she's left home, she's got a job in the city, she's been working a while and getting nowhere, so she's got to be young-ish. I think for that to work. Otherwise, it would just be really sad and depressing. Like she's in her 40s and she's been stuck with nothing for a whole. Jesus Christ, I'd be miserable.
Yeah, I did look up though. Yeah, she would have been in her 40s, and Michael Keaton would have been a couple of years older than her. So, but maybe I was been harsh on Tim Burton there. I was like, no, we're just considering she needs to be a younger person.
Yeah, but if that's what he means. He might not. Yeah. He might be being a jerk. I don't know.
Cher, apparently, in consideration for Catwoman.
Oh, no.
That came up as well when friggin' Dark Knight Rises was gearing up. They said, rumors that Cher was considered for Catwoman. What? I think that was just an internet thing. I think they did have a point where, before this came out, though, I think it was immediately after 89, the Batman 89 came out. Apparently Bob Kane did say in an interview that, yes, we're looking into a sequel, and Cher is going to be Catwoman, and Michael J. Fox is going to be Robin. And it was just completely unfounded. Like Bob Kane's this crazy old guy, just saying whatever he wants. Like I made the character. He'll do whatever I tell him to do.
Now I really wish we lived in a world where we got Michael J. Fox as Robin.
I could totally, they did like early 80s Michael J. Fox as. Yeah, totally. A light-hearted 60s-ish Batman. Perfect Robin.
Well, take 90% of how the next movie goes. Just put it in the 80s instead. Yeah, voila. Yeah. That's basically like mixing this with the 60s.
Yeah. With other people, Bridget Fonda. Okay. Raquel Welch. Bit of a weird one.
Unexpected.
Yeah, could have been quite old at that point as well. But Demi Moore, although mentioned last minute. Jennifer Jason Leigh, which I would have been. Jennifer Jason Leigh is a terrific actress, so I would have really loved to have seen what she would have done with the part.
Interesting. Yeah.
And just a lot of other people, just like actresses of the day. Like, Sigourney Weaver probably would have done a great job. Brooke Shields, whatever. And weirdly enough, at the end, Nicole Kidman was considered to play Catwoman. So
no, I don't like most of these.
The thing is, like, they basically struck gold. Is what happened though. They're just like, we didn't get a net betting, but we got someone way better, basically to come in who steals this whole damn movie. So yeah. So thank you, Warren Beatty, for getting Michelle Pfeiffer in for. Shouldn't say that though, no, but.
It takes two to tango, so
exactly, yeah.
Warren and that.
But so those are the other people who could have played Catwoman, but didn't.
Thank God.
But that's pretty much the only notes I have for this minute. You guys have anything else you want to talk about in particular here?
I think I'm good.
No, I'm all tapped out. I like the way you say that. That's all the notes I've. As if you had none, and we've been going for 5 minutes, and we're actually like, But yes, should we depart once more, Niall, and head into the dark night?
I just ask Eric. You have the floor now. Do you have any memories of when you seen this movie or the first Batman movie? I know you alluded to that you were in your early teens at the time, but. Do you have any fond memories associated with the Burton era of the Bat?
Oh yeah, I mean the Burton era of the Bat really just got me into reading comics on a good normal basis. I mean there were just a couple that I had previous to that from my younger years of 5 to 10 roughly. So a G.I. Joe, a Casper, But I mean it got me into comics a lot. I really focused in on the the bat symbol, and then with the comics, drawing them, both by hand and on the computer a bit too. Back in those early days of Microsoft Paint, just pixel by pixel drawing, really almost. Yeah, it's, you know, and Michael Keaton as Batman, you know, I don't remember having an issue with him when I first kind of heard about it as a, you know, roughly like 10, 11, 12-year-old-ish, you know, and then continuing on, into this movie. It was great. It was the heyday. But then, like, as I kind of mentioned before, you know, when for some crazy reason in my senior year, just at the end of my senior year of high school, right after I graduated, is when the next one comes out, and I did not go to the theater and see it, and I have never seen all of it in one setting at least. I know I've seen parts here and there, that's for sure, but yeah,
Crazy.
For both of the next two. But the other one is more conceivable that I missed because I was right in the middle of college and I was just really busy. The only movie property I was focused on throughout college was Star Wars.
Ooh.
And it coming up with there because it was pretty well known. They were working on it throughout most of my time in college.
Yeah, I suppose the next two probably don't appeal to someone that age, to be honest. Like we were probably the perfect age, well, especially for the next one. Because I had that on VHS and watched it non-stop. I don't think I acknowledged it wasn't as good as this one. You know, well, I mean, this was my favorite as a kid, but I didn't sort of separate them in my mind. I just saw it as, oh, it's the next Batman. Yeah, it's great, cool.
But I'm ready to cast off of you guys.
Sure.
We will depart. One last time, would you like to tell everyone where they can find your wonderful work everywhere?
Yeah, you can catch all 186 minutes of Watchmen Minute. Just Google that real quick, and you should find our, whether you like our Libsyn or iTunes or many of the other podcatching places, sites, and apps, and what have you. But then coming up later in the fall is Almost Famous Minute. And that'll be just like yours here, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm getting away from the 5-day a week.
We've taught you well.
Yes. Well, especially, and I'll be editing this one by myself, whereas for Watchmen, it was Travis and I sharing the load pretty evenly, I believe. But then the one other that I mentioned earlier was Feels Like Weezer. Should be coming up even sooner than the fall, when we go through Weezer's catalog track by track.
That'll be fun. Yeah. Check that out when it drops, as the kids say, everybody. Yeah. And in the meantime, come and talk to us. We're on Facebook at the Bat Minute Listeners Cave. I'm sure you bloody know by now. Send us a tweet at Bat Minute, which is usually Niall, because I'm so incredibly lazy. I don't check these things very often. I'm all over Facebook, though. I'm just a meme factory. Yeah. So come and talk to me there. And we're on Instagram as well. Just look us up there. Put Bat Minute. Just type that in. We're all over the place. And iTunes and all that junk. And yes, we will see you again next week. We will have new minutes and a new guest. See you then.
Next time, Tabinator 2, Judgment Day. As all aliases are alleviated, Selina's thirst for justice will finally be sated. But as the pleather-bound panther eyes a view to a kill, how many piercing projectiles can Max plant in her grill? Find out next week. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.